Hello, I'm Professor Ken Romanowski. I am here to introduce you to personal financial planning. Now, you may have been exposed to financial planning in one form or another. Maybe you have a bank account, or maybe you have student loans, or have involved with health insurance, perhaps even life insurance. What we're going to do is we're going to help you to be a better consumer, a wiser consumer, and to also help you to be objective and not to be sucked in to many of the emotional uh, marketing ploys that are out there. Uh, some of those are good, but there are some that may not be in your best interest. So my hope is that as you learn throughout this course and throughout the rest of your life, you'll get to understand uh, what is good for you and what is not good for you. Now, I did mention that this is uh, a course for the rest of your life. My hope is that if you haven't really done anything in this area, that this will be the beginning for you to start to get your financial life in order. And that could take you anywhere from now to once you get out of school to retirement and so on and so forth. So let's begin uh, by talking a little bit about planning and what this is all about. So personal financial planning, right now you may seem like you're that little person there on the lower part of the mountain. There's just a lot of things that you have to overcome. And there are quite a few different aspects of financial planning. And I will talk about that later as we move forward. But in talking about personal financial planning, we're talking personal things now. So we're talking about you. So who are you? Who are you today? And how about who will you be in 5, 10, 20, or even 40 years? How will your life look at each of these stages? These may not be things you have thought about previously, but my hope is that you're going to start to do that in this class. And if you've already started, that you'll continue, and hopefully I can help you to fine tune what your thoughts are. When it comes to a career, what do you have in mind? How about a family? How about your health? And how about your wealth? Nobody really knows for sure what's going to happen in the future. No one has a crystal ball. A crystal ball would make so much of this planning much easier, because then you'd know how much to save, and you would know uh, what mistakes not to make and that type of thing. But we just don't have a crystal ball. So good financial planning, as we say on the bottom here, will not answer all of these questions, but it will help provide the funds you will need to reach your goals, and essentially to do it even when times are difficult. Now, very wise person by the name of Benjamin Franklin. He was a native of Boston, but he was basically adopted by Philadelphia, if you will. He had many great and famous things to say. And one of my favorites of his, especially as it pertains to financial planning, is that if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. Now think about that for a second. If you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. Okay, so if you plan wisely, you are part of the process of shaping your life. Without planning, your circumstances will control your life. Now, again, there are things that can happen in your life that you have no control over or that you don't anticipate. But the important thing is if you're planning, you can more than likely be able to deal with a lot of these issues, because good planning takes into account a lot of different things that can happen in your life. We'll talk more about that as we move forward. Okay, so what is personal financial planning? It's a systematic process that considers important elements of an individual's financial affairs in order to fulfill financial goals. That's a mouthful, okay? But the bottom line is this. So it's a process. It is a way of helping you determine what your needs are and what your goals are, and then setting up a way of helping you to achieve those goals. So why should you even do this? Okay, maybe you don't know people, say people who are older than you, they got through life without financial planning. And it's possible that you could have a reasonable lifestyle once you retire, or even prior to that time. But that can also be a function of luck. So what are some of the benefits that you get? What are the rewards of sound financial planning? Well, first of all, financial planning will give you flexibility. You can do what you want to do when you have flexibility. It'll improve your standard of living, so you'll be able to live better. Now, my goal is not here to be able to get you into a more fancy house or a more fancy vehicle. No, that's not my point. My point is that the life that you would like to live on a financial basis, will you be able to do that? And that's what my hope would be, that you're not struggling as you get older and older in life. It's more and more difficult the older you get to accumulate wealth that you can then live on once you get too old to go to work. So other rewards of sound financial planning: you spend your money more wisely, and you wind up having more money because there's more. By being efficient with your money, you have that much more. You can do more with your money. So the money that you are putting aside, whether it's saving or investing, again, if you're a smart consumer, you're going to know, and you're going to develop good habits to be able to do more with the money that you have. So the goal here, as far as I'm concerned, is to accumulate wealth and to become self-sufficient. Remember, overspending puts you deeper into debt. What my goal would be for you is to put yourself in a position that if you want to work, fine. But if you don't have good health, or if you don't want to work, or you want to do something entirely different, that you have the funds in order to do that. So you want to move forward, you don't want to move backward. And certainly one of the ways of that happening is when you are overspending. If you are spending more than your income, because that puts you deeper and deeper into debt, and you certainly don't want that. You want to move forward, not move backward. Okay, this is one of my own personal observations based on my career and based on my life and my family and my clients over the years. Money doesn't necessarily make you happy. What it does is it gives you options. So you have the ability to make more decisions, varied decisions, when you have money. When you don't have money, you basically are at someone else's whim as far as what they want to do with you or for you. So you want to be in a position where you have control of your life. Your career choice is one of the main drivers in achieving your financial goals. Your career decision will provide a certain income. If the income is sufficient to reach your goals, great. If not, the career you choose will not help you to attain those financial goals. You'll either need an additional source of income, and I've known people who do that. They like what they do, but they also want to live a certain lifestyle, so they get a second job. Now, if that's what you want, that's fine. Okay, that sometimes you have to make a trade-off. But if that's not what you want, then you may need to consider a different source of income or an entirely different career. Okay, so moving right along here. Now, the financial planning process has 6 steps. So you hopefully will put these to a certain degree of memory over time. And it all makes sense what you're going to see here. So the first thing is, if you're going to be planning, you want to define what your goals are. Okay, so you want to be as specific as possible. If you say, I want to retire with enough income to live on, well, that's not sufficient. What kind of lifestyle do you want to live? Okay, further on, I'm going to show you some ways to calculate the amount of money that you're going to need for retirement or for saving or any other type of goal that you want to achieve. So once you've developed these financial goals, you want to now develop a financial plan and some strategies to achieve these goals. So how are you going to do that? It's nice to have goals, but if you don't back them up with plans and effort, they're just wishes. They are not really a solid goal that you can then strive to achieve. So once you have defined your goals and you develop the plans, now you have to implement them. So it's one thing to have a great plan, but if you don't move forward with it, if you don't implement it, it's never going to get done and your goals are not going to be achieved. Next, you want to make sure that you are staying on track. So you do that by developing a budget to monitor and control your progress toward your goal. Now, sometimes that may sound a little restrictive. And if you, to a certain degree it is, but let me say this. If you are having tremendous difficulty in saving or investing money, then you need to be as stringent as possible when it comes to budgeting. You want to make sure that you have every bit of income and every bit of expense considered when you are trying to do your budget. The budget is basically going to allow you or it's going to give you guidance to stay on track. And if something is out of whack, if you're spending too much money, because that's when you look back on what you spent, then you need to make adjustments so that you'll be able to move forward. Again, remember, you want to be sure that that income is always exceeding your expenses. If it doesn't, if it's only temporary, well, that can happen. That happens in everybody's life. But the problem is when it's consistently your expenses are greater than your income, that's a sure sign of future disaster, and you don't want that. Okay, so you're now developing and you've implemented these budgets. You're trying to keep yourself on track. So now you want to use financial statements to evaluate these plans and budgets and make adjustments as necessary. So we'll talk a little bit, if you haven't taken an accounting course yet, we'll talk a little bit about, a little bit later on, about income statements and balance sheets. These are ways of helping you to know what you have, and then also what your income is and what your expenses are. And if you're actually having more income than expenses, that additional money then is getting plowed into what it is that you own. So that's good to do that. So you want to have your plans, you want to evaluate them, you want to monitor them, and you want to then keep yourself on track and make any adjustments that you need to make. Now, a year, 2 years down the road, you want to take a really good look at what you've just done. Okay, and then you're going to say to yourself, were these goals that I have realistic? Okay, is there something that I need to change because maybe you're having just too much difficulty in reaching your goals. Maybe you have to downsize your goals a bit. Maybe things have come up in the last year or so that now is going to force you to change what your goals are. It could be anything that you were not expecting a year ago or 2 years ago. So the thing about setting goals is that they should be somewhat flexible. Flexible in the sense that you could modify them so that you now will be in a better position to achieve the goals that you are trying to reach. And this is something, again, you need to do every so often, typically every couple years, just to make sure that you are on the right track. Okay, so a little bit of additional information here for you too. Most individuals, there is a whole process of planning through your lifetime. So what you have here is a diagram of different points during your life and the type of planning that you need to do. So typically planning is not a big issue in your early childhood and high school, but as you get into college now, things are starting to take shape for you. So you will need to do some planning for your career. When you get a job, what kind of a job are you going to have? If you're going to work for a firm that provides benefits, you're going to need to know something about those benefits. If they offer a retirement plan, like a 401k or a Roth or an IRA, any of these things, if you do the Roth or the IRA on your own, that's fine. If you do them through a 401k, that's fine too. And we'll talk about some of the ways that you can do the best you can with that. So also there's saving and investment plans. So saving money for retirement, health insurance. What kind of policy are you going to have? Typically people get them through their employer to make sure that your bills are paid and that you don't wind up becoming losing your finances because of too large doctor bills. So when we talk about financial planning, we're talking about anything that's going to impact your goals. Insurance is a big factor in that because insurance allows you to make up for problems that occur, whether you get sick, whether you hurt yourself and you're out of a job, if you die and then you have dependents, people who are relying on you. Insurance will help you with these things. Same thing if you have a house or a car and you have an accident or some damage. This again is where insurance can help out. Finally, one of the last things that you do is an estate plan. So as you accumulate your wealth, if in theory, if you had exactly the amount of money that you need up until the time that you die, that's great. That's really good planning. But we don't have a crystal ball, so we don't know what our future is going to hold. So you want to make sure that you have enough extra income and extra assets, financial assets especially, so that in the event that you have an emergency or you have a problem, you can rely on these other forms of financial assets to get you out of a bind. Okay, so I think that's all I'm going to talk about for right now. And then I will pick up on the second video, which will be a continuation of what we're talking about. Thank you.